Okay. Hello, everybody. Again, it's Laura Victoria Ward, and I am now recording to the cloud, and I have my Zoom room. And if you ever want to join this room, just reach out to me. You can do it through my YouTube channel or wherever, and I can send you a link. So I'm talking about sounding, different forms of sounding. So it comes from many traditions. Of course, there's a lot of Eastern traditions. There's a lot of chanting, there's a lot of liturgical traditions that use sound to affect the body. And sound has vibration, and it's going to mobilize tissue in a different way than movement necessarily. I mean, sound is movement, right? Sound is small movement vibration. And different sounds and different shapings in our mouth sort of have different spatial geometric ways of moving our tissue and also moving our faces. So I'm going to start off with that. Hello, Abby. I see you down there. I'm going to start off with, we're going to actually go backwards. We're going to go ah, e, oo. It's not backwards if we think of things, but we're just going to, and I'm going to mute you all if you aren't muted already. Can I do it? Yes, I can. You're all muted now, so you don't need to worry about making sound. But we're going to play with ah, e, oo. And I'm going to invite you, if it feels okay, to really participate with moving your face and imagining that your face is like the microcosm of your whole body as the macrocosm. So your face is making these shapes and sounds, and you're just going to invite them to play out in your body in whatever way you feel. And then the other thing to say about that is there's no need to make these sounds last forever. Like sometimes a long exhale can affect our nervous system in a really great way. But if you start to feel like it's creating tension, then let it go. So we're going to play with ah first, and then e, and then oo. And I'm just going to ah for as long as I feel like ahing. There may be a few breaths of ah, and you don't have to match my breathing for your ahs. You're just going to ah also. And we're just going to play with that opening of the mouth and that verticality of sound, if we can get that ah sound in our whole body. So, and I'm just going to then move in the middle of it into the e and then into the oo. So the ah is kind of here, e kind of here, and oo kind of there. But let's start with ahs. So however it works for you, feeling into your own body. Just to invite you also to play with your face. Don't think it has to just get stuck in one position. Let it kind of move and play so that you can feel how the changes happen. And it doesn't have to sound good. However the sound comes out is fine. Let's add the arms and the body to the movement so we start to get a little more participation. So switching to E. No arms first, just feel the E in your face. E. Some of you are already going to arms. Do it. If you feel it, do it. E. Also let your eyes, now that I'm doing my E's, I'm really becoming aware of the horizon line. So let yourself come away from the camera. Just be in the space with that E sound. And let's go into the oohs, forward and backward with the ooh. Resting breaths whenever you need them. Cool. So if we were using Laban terminology, we could talk about lengthening and shortening, widening and narrowing, and bulging and hollowing. So we're finding these 3 dimensions with other words and other vocabulary. I want to work with them a little bit more, but this time without using your vocal cords. And you can start to mix the sounds. So like it can be and you might get it on the inhale and the exhale now instead of just the inhale, or sorry, instead of just the exhale. So I'm going to go full 3-dimensional without trying to match anything to any size, shape, just letting yourself like almost like the sound of air blowing through a cave at the edge of the water. So the water might be smacking and the air is and letting things spiral and add shape. So it doesn't have to be up, down, side, side, forward, backward. It can be like and then letting that windstorm start to settle and become more. So we've gone from big postural mobility and movement into sort of gestural small, or maybe it's like postural small. So we could go gestural big or gestural small, but letting it come into something that's more micro in your body and still playing a little bit with sound. So it might be like, maybe adding some lightness and self-touch into that. I'm going to add one more thing, and this is a little bit more continuum-y, and that is that you're going to, maybe, if this works for you, you're going to kind of get some spit in your mouth, and you're going to add kind of like a so it's almost like you're going to hock a loogie, but if you do that means spit a chunk of spit, but it doesn't have to be that. It's like you've got that water playing around. So your water cave now has water in your throat. And just sensing into this version of the breath as maybe more sort of, for me, it becomes more parasympathetic, drops the nervous system down, slows it down, but also gives me real deep access to power and strength. So I don't know what it's going to be for you, but and like one more minute of that, tuning into whatever you're feeling. whatever images are arising. And then letting us come back together. So that was kind of a vocal and spatial warm up in a weird way. And let's just come back, because I always like to just reflect on anything that you noticed. Of course, there is no need to say anything, but if anything popped up, if any light bulbs went off or anything was interesting or imagery arose, just feel free to unmute and say what that was if you are so called. Dawn.
I enjoy thinking about the sagittal plane and thinking about my sound resonating in the back of my head. And there's certain vowels that seem to do that better than others. Ooh, and certain pitches that seem to do that better than others. That was fun.
Sometimes, like when we go into the body place, it isn't a verbal place. And I think part of that is because we haven't been taught to speak about and from our bodies, right? We're usually, this is what I think. But if we're speaking from our bodies, like what are we noticing? What is the body saying? What is your body saying? What are the things that are arising for you? And there's not a wrong or right in any of this. It's just, and each time may be totally different. So just layering in the experience. Anyone else want to say anything before we go on?
I'd like to say something. Hi, everyone. So when we were doing the just playing with the whoosh in the water, it's like the first time I'm letting my body play and not having a direct result, a goal, orientation, navigating through something. It's just like, oh, let's just do this because it feels good and have fun. So thanks, Laura.
You're welcome. Yay. I don't know. To me, that's always the ultimate, like, oh, you're just in the present moment in sort of pleasure. Yeah. Excellent. It worked. Yay. What else? Anybody else? Lindsay? Oh, Peen, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's maybe I'm more quiet, so I'm not so used to make these kinds of vocals. So it's very nice to do actually. So that's why I'm like, I don't know what's happening, and it's a bit like new or something.
Yeah, I just want to name one thing. So I studied movement analysis in 1995, 96. It was a year-long program. We were in there like pretty much 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. And we had to be able to move it, write about it, show it, put it on other people's bodies, put it on our bodies. And it opened up so many places of movement that I was not familiar with. And I'd been a dancer, dancing multiple styles, but it was like suddenly I'm in all these places that was really unfamiliar territory. And so I actually went to a therapist during that time and like just had another person to bounce things off of, because I feel like sometimes we start to open up these worlds. And I do have to say that my therapist wasn't that great, but it was helpful to have a person to talk to. And I also find that for me, a lot of the support that I need on the emotional, physical level, I get at my chiropractors. Like for me, often the support and the healing that I need is through body work and talking to somebody while I'm getting body work. Like going and sitting and just talking to someone, I can do that with my friends, right? I don't need this other person necessarily, but I do want to just name that thing. And I feel like that's one reason, like, I really like the process part of where we say things, just so that there's that part of us where there's a group energy field that's holding this space for all of us. So when I was sitting Laban, it wasn't, there was group process, but we didn't really process. And it wasn't, so I feel like that's part of what this moment is also just to name things that are coming up and be like, oh, okay, that's happening. And this could be changing things. Anyone else want to say anything?
Y'all mentioned,
oh, go ahead. Lindsay, then Campbell. Oh, Campbell, then Lindsay.
It just feels like the front of my body feels really spacious and a lot of vibration, and the back is very mysterious right now. That's what's coming up.
It's so interesting because we're looking into your space and we see all that space behind you. So like there's that interesting, whoa, there's a whole world back there.
I was going to say that doing the ahs at the end, and I guess there's a verticality to them, and it took me into a leg that I feel is more passive, my right leg that I don't really engage as much. And it was like to be able to stand on that and be stronger. And yeah, come into my own in that way a bit more. And then the ooze just took me into these neat spiralic pathways that could like connect into different places. It was pretty cool. A lot of fun.
Awesome. That's super excellent. I wanted to say something to respond to that also, and then it kind of eluded me. So I find that if I'm really present with something, something may come up, but then if I don't hold on to it, it disappears, and that's fine. So let's move on. We can always talk again. But let's go with the scales, because I want to start playing with a few different things with the scale. So we're going to go to the basic scale. And first, we're just going to play with doing the scale the way that it is sort of the Laban scale. And I'm just going to throw it out there since we've already done up, down, side, side, backwards, backwards, forwards. Let's just go right ahead with the scale. So I'm going to go reaching vertical, place high, and then down to place low in the vertical. Then I'm going to go right away to the horizontal, crossing over, side across, and side open. And I'm going with my left side, which should probably be your right side if you're mirroring me, and then backwards and forwards. So vertical, same arm, vertical dimension, high and low, horizontal dimension, side across, side open, sagittal dimension, backwards and forwards. The other side of my body is working as a counterbalance. So vertical, place high, place low. Horizontal, side across, right side middle, or left side middle, right side middle. Side across, side open, backwards, middle, and forwards, middle. One more time on this side. Place high, place low. Side across, side open, that's the horizontal dimension, backwards and forwards. And then switching it to the other side. So place high, place low. Side across, trying to keep your hips pointing front, side open. Backwards and forwards. Again, place high, place low. Side across, side open, backwards, trying to keep your hips facing front and forwards. Last time on this side. Vertical dimension, high and low. Horizontal dimension, side across, side open, sagittal dimension, backwards and forwards. So really quickly, I'm just going to show you these. Some of you know them. And for some, they're going to be totally new, but this is the language of it. So this is the middle point in the middle. So this is like the middle of my body or the middle of space. This is me in the center. Here's place high. It's got the diagonal, the diagonals. When there's a dot, it means it's at the middle level. When we have those diagonal lines, it's at the high level. So place low is filled in. So if I was to put these pieces together, it's the vertical dimension, high, middle, and low. You can know it's the vertical dimension even if I don't show that middle spot. That's high, place high and place low. Then here's side, side. Right side and left side. You know it's in the middle because it's got a dot in the middle. So that's at the middle level. And it doesn't matter if you memorize these or not. It's just that adding another layer of language, depending on how you are with language. And then this is forwards and backwards. Wait a minute. Yes. So it's got a dot in the middle, which means it's at the middle level. It's got the notch at the top is forward. The notch at the bottom is backward. So we could put these, if we were to motif write this, we'd start at the bottom and work our way up, or we could work our way across. That's another possibility, but usually it goes up. So just to give you that imagery, and whether or not, like, it's more important that your body's moving in space than that you're memorizing a bunch of symbols. But some people love symbols, and sometimes it's really helpful. So now what I want to do is So that was the way that Laban put that scale together. It's called a dimensional cross of axes. And I always got it confused. It's and you maybe already know this, but axis is the singular of axes. I was always like, is it the axis? Is it the axis? What does it mean? But it's the dimensional cross of axes, which are two or more axes. So just to throw that out there. So I want to do it in the reverse. So normally we start high, we go low, we cross, we open, we go backwards, forwards. So this time we're going to start forward, go backward. We're going to be open, then we're going to cross, we're going to go low, and we're going to go high. So we're just reversing the directions of this scale of movement, starting it from the front. So we're going to start forward, take it to backwards. We're going to open it out to the side and then cross it over. We're going to go low and then high. So one more time, we're going sagittal forwards, sagittal to backwards. We're going to take that out to horizontal, open and across. And then we're going to go to vertical, place low and place high. One more time, forwards, sagittal to backwards. Opening it into the horizontal, side open to side across, and then sweeping down to the vertical and up. Let's go with the other side, taking it forward to backward. Opening it out, open and then cross. Taking it down and then up. And again, forward to backward, sagittal. Opening it out, side open, side across, horizontal, place low, place high. Nice, one more time. Forward to backward, sagittal dimension, side open, side across, horizontal dimension, place low, place high, vertical dimension. Did that feel different doing it in the reverse? I don't know, there was something really satisfying to me about coming from the back to the side and then coming from the cross to go down. Like I felt it had a different personality, a lot of those spaces. Anyone else notice anything? Yeah, Dawn, anybody? How was it for you, Kathleen? Since you already know it.
So to reverse it, I like the feeling of expansion as it continues, because in the beginning it's always a little bit of, just to come into the body and go out into the space. And I enjoyed both versions.
Yeah, I think that it's so funny, like, in order to keep learning, we have to keep questioning. And then to keep questioning, it's like, well, how could we do it differently? I mean, of course, we could do this in a bunch of different ways, but just to reverse it is one way. And I don't know how many of you guys have studied ballet or modern dance or something where now we're going to go retrograde. Now we're going to do the backwards version. Now do the things the other way. And it's like your brain's going, oh my God, what? But when we have the facility to be able to shift these things around, then we really know them. Okay, so let's move on. Anyone, wait, let's just quick ask. Anyone else want to say anything before we move on? Anything that popped out with the reverse of that for you? Okay. Yeah, if we were in school, I could go, raise your hand if you might have something to say, or just put them way down. You know, like when people are like, don't call on me, like put your hands down. Anyway. But I like to leave space so maybe something arises you can talk about. Let's move from the plane, the dimensions into the planes. So just let's pretend that this is not actually a two-dimensional thing. Like, so for Laban's work, we take what is really 3-dimension and we call it 1 dimension. So let's just pretend that this is my vertical dimension. It's just up, down. There's no side, side, my horizontal dimension, my sagittal dimension. I just want to show you one more thing for my newer people. And let's see, just to throw this out there. So these scales take place in platonic solids. So here's a tetrahedron for equal sides. All the corners are equal. These are platonic solids. Here's a cube. 6 faces, 8 points. Here's the octahedron. 6 points and 8 faces. It's kind of the exact opposite of the cube. So if we were to put that scale of the up, down, side, side, forward, backward inside one of these crystalline forms, these platonic solids, it would go inside of the octahedron. So the dimensional cross of axis is also the scale that is inside the octahedron. Just to throw that out there. Because then we can really start to understand, are we moving more 3-dimensionally? Are we moving more 1-dimensionally? Like, and you can go, oh, it looks like that's kind of in the octahedron. So it's maybe more 1-dimensional. And anything in the cube is going to be more 3-dimensional. And then this exciting piece of plastic right here is the icosahedron. And I have a bigger one of those over here. And that is if we take all the planes together. So first we're just going to play with the planes and look at what the symbols are for them. So with the planes, so if this is a dimension and this is a plane, right? So this is just up, down. Now I have up, down, and some side, side. So if this is my vertical plane, I'm just going to show you here. There's my right high, left high, right low, left low. And we want to say that it's like, if I go here, I'm still going to left high, right high. If I do, it's not the body part that's moving, it's the space that we're moving within. So we're delineating that this is Laban, big S space that is geometric. So if this is my vertical plane, I have those 4 points. Here's my horizontal plane. It's like a table with a person at each end of the table. So here's my right forward middle, left forward middle, right back middle, left back middle, just to give you this little weird visual ahead of time. This would be my sagittal. Don't look at the image, just look at the rectangle that I'm holding here. So there's my forward high, my forward low, my backward high, and my backward low. So we're going to move those places. So we come into our vertical dimension. If I'm just standing here, I'm in the vertical dimension. I'm trying to be just one line. If I add a little bit of horizontal, I open out, and now I'm in the vertical plane. So my vertical dimension has one spatial pole, vertical, and 2 directions. I have up and down. My vertical plane has 2 uneven spatial poles. The dominant spatial pole is the name of the plane, vertical. The secondary spatial pole is what's added to it. So I add a little bit of horizontal, and I have this plane. So I'm going to go, we'll use both sides of the body, but we're just naming space. Right high, left high, right low, left low. Right high, left high, right low, left low. It could also be high right, high left, low right, low left. So sometimes the way that people order the words is slightly different. It's still the same space. Let's do it all with one hand. So we're going to go high right, high left, low right, low left, high right, high left, low right, low left. Switch it to the other side, high left, crossing, high right, low right, low left, high left, high right, low right, low left. So how much do we feel like this is the I gotta go to the bathroom pose, right? Like it just, oh, there's like the awkwardness of it. It's so funny. Anyway, and there's different ways we could go between those points. We could go high right, and we could just cross down to low left. High right. This is crossing through the middle of the plane. High right, and usually we're crossing through the middle. Sometimes we travel the periphery. Let's do it on the other side. We're open on top. We're crossing low. Oh, it doesn't feel so much like I have to go to the bathroom when I come from the top down to there as when I go open, closed, low. So just each thing has a different personality depending on how you get into it. I could also cross on the top. So I could go high left, opening down to low right. High left to low right. So feel in your organs. How different is this? What's happening up there? How much crossing and spiraling are you getting? And then how much open? Try it on the other side. Crossing up, opening down. Crossing high, opening low. One more time. Cross high, open low. So that's all vertical plane stuff. vertical plane. Here's the vertical dimension. I'm gesturing in the vertical dimension. I'm gesturing in the vertical plane. Look at me, here I am. And I feel like the difference between this is very much me. And then when I do this, I feel like I'm going, hey, you, look at me. I'm here. So I feel like this is a more connect to outer version of me than, exactly. Dawn's got the jumping up and down. And this, of course, has that relationship to gravity and then the rebound from gravity. Okay, let's go into the horizontal. So let's just hit the points. I'm going to turn around so you're stepping the same way I am. We're going to go right forward middle, left forward middle, right back middle, left back middle, right forward middle, left forward middle, right back middle, left back middle. Let's start it with the other hand first. Left forward middle, right forward middle, left back middle, right back middle, left forward middle, right forward middle, left back middle, right back middle. Yeah, so it's very skatey, like skating through space when we do it with both sides of our body. But now let's try it crossing and opening. So again, we use the hips as sort of the reference points for where front is. So if I turn my hips here, now that's my front. So my sagittal's here. So we want to try and keep, for all intents and purposes, in this Zoom room for me, I'm trying to keep my hips pointing towards the camera. But sometimes I lose it. I'm human. So we're going to start with your right hand, my left hand, and we're going to cross to left forward middle, and we're going to open back to right back middle. So we're crossing through the diagonal. Left forward middle, opening back, right back middle. Left forward middle, trying to keep the hips square to the front, right back middle. Let's keep that same side and open front and cross back. So we're right forward middle, crossing left back middle, right forward middle. And you can't really see it that much in the computer screen, but I'm trying to stay at that horizontal surface. So I'm not adding any up and down. It's just a little bit of forward, backward. It's just sagittal and horizontal put together. So in the horizontal plane, the primary spatial pull is horizontal, secondary spatial pull is sagittal. So it's also known as the table plane, like we're at this big rectangular table. Let's do that with the other side. So we're going to be open in the front and then crossing to the back. Opening on the diagonal and crossing to the back. So left forward middle to right back middle. One more time. Left forward middle to right back middle. And then we're going to change it. We're going to cross front and we're going to open back. So it's going to be right forward middle, which is the space, not the hand, to left back middle. Right forward middle. And again, feel what's happening with your organs in this. If you want to really go crazy with it, you could lift up the leg. Like if you're feeling dance, you want to get into some more dancey and active version, you can get that leg going. But just being aware that this is very different than this, right? When we cross and when we open, super different in our physiology, what it feels like, what it looks like, all that kind of stuff. Well, let's keep going, but let's look at what the symbols for these two things are. So this is vertical plane. High right and high left. And then low right and low left. So this is vertical plane. If I put the four together, oops. That is our vertical plane. High right, high left, low left. And we know it's high because it's got stripes. We know which side because the point is going in that direction. And we know it's low because it's filled in. So our horizontal plane, and this is where it gets exciting. Did I do it right? Hold on. Oh, something's wrong here. There we go. It's like I have to it has to make sense to me, and then I have to hold it up so it makes sense to you too. So our horizontal, it's got dots. Oops, something's wrong here. Hold on. Okay. And it doesn't matter if you remember this, it's just, yeah, there we go. This would be the horizontal plane. So right forward middle, right back middle, left forward middle, left back middle. The point is telling us that that is going to that side. The dot tells us it's in the middle. So that is the horizontal plane in motif. Sagittal plane, I'm going to show you and then we'll do it. So let me just hold it up, and anyone wants to say what that is. What do you think that is? Oh, Don's going there. You could also just put your body into the space. It's got, yeah, it's high because it's got those stripes, and it's forward because it's got the notch. And this has filled in, so it's low level, and it's got the notch, so it's forward. So there's forward high and forward low. And then the opposite, backward high and backward low. So we've got the stripes tells us high, filled in tells us low. The notch tells us back, notch on the bottom backward, notch on the top forward. So let's move those spaces. So we're gonna go to, we'll just do the right side of our body the whole time, and then we'll do the left side. So we're gonna go forward high, forward low, backward low, backward high, forward high, forward low, backward low, backward high. I'm going to do it on with my other arm, but I'm just going to show you so I'm sideways. So you can still face me. Forward high, forward low, backward high. Again, I'm trying to keep my hips in my sagittal. This is the sagittal plane. Forward high, forward low, backward high. When I go through the sagittal plane this way, it's like a throw. It's like a throw. If I go the other way, it's like bowling. This is also the wheel plane. So the primary spatial pull is sagittal, and the secondary is vertical. We have a little bit of up and down. So we have mostly forward, backward with a little bit up, down. Let's try moving a different way through this. So we're going to go forward low, right hand. Same hand is going to go through the center to the back high. Forward low, taking it down to back high. So in my back high, I really want to get some arch, some opening in my chest and behind me, more than I just go up. So sometimes, especially for kids now, it seems like who have less awareness, they think that is backward high. And it's like, no, it's got to be more sagittal than high. Try it with the other hand. Forward low to backward high. Forward low. And you're imagining that you're making a straight line from point to point. So if your hand was a paintbrush, it would be drawing one straight line from forward low to backward high. That's it. Yeah, keeping the hips forward. We can also go, let's start on this side just to change it. Forward high to backward low. Forward high to backward low. And as you're moving through those places, do they have personalities to you? Forward high, backward low, forward high, backward low. Switch it to the other hand. Forward high, backward low. Or does that movement remind you of anything? Forward high, backward low. I'm just going to show you sideways. Forward high, backward low. Forward high, backward low. Yeah, so let's come in. We have, oh, we could cycle through these planes. We'll do that in a second, but let's just have a chat and see what you're noticing. And also if you're feeling like, hold on one second. If you're feeling overwhelmed, just breathe. And like all of this work, it's like, it doesn't need to be comprehended completely in your mind right away. Like you can take a while, just let it land in your body and feel what it is to be in those different spaces. And some of you, it's like, you're going to go, oh yeah, this makes total sense. Like if you're like, if a space junkie and you're used to it, you're going to go, oh yeah, of course. Because we are all seeing this all the time. It's not something that is like it came out of nowhere and has never been seen before. You've been seeing it your whole life. You've been doing it your whole life, but you just haven't maybe put the names to it for some of you. Okay, now go ahead. Whatever, Dawn, I think you had something to say.
I was just thinking about how different it feels when you're using the same foot leg as arm versus contralateral. Like, like, because it feels like it's a body side when you're doing right arm forward and right leg comes with it versus contralateral. They just feel different.
Well, they are totally different, right? And they have a totally different effect on your nervous system. So just a quick rundown by that, like, so babies in developmental patterns, the first thing they're going to do is just kind of like orient. They're in a body. What is this body? The next thing, once they start to developing patterns that are, I don't even want to say recognizable because there's so many patterns that are happening beforehand, but like grossly obvious. They're on their bellies. They start to rock up and down. So they start to develop upper versus lower. That's the first real strong pattern that is like upper body, lower body. Second pattern, right versus left. They start to roll, right? And then third pattern, contralateral, start to crawl. That is the next pattern. So Martha, I think, would say this also, like one reason why it's so important for babies on their bellies is that their eyes are orienting. And as their eyes are orienting, they're developing their whole skeletal muscular system to have that back support, right? And like, so these bucket babies where moms are putting their kids into a bucket to keep them quiet, you know what I mean? The seats where they're not throwing the baby in a bucket, but a seat, like a bucket seat, because so the baby's there kind of immobilized is like the worst thing you could possibly do for a kid. I mean, it's okay here and there, but as a basic thing, you don't want any baby sitting in a bucket for very long. Like that is not what their system needs to learn how to do. Although for our culture, maybe it is because people don't move very much. But okay, so we had that upper versus lower pattern, also known as homologous, upper versus lower, right versus left, homolateral, cross-body, contralateral. So contralateral movement is the most advanced for our nervous system. So when we go for a walk, when we go for a run, when we swimming, some types of swimming, when we're working those patterns for extended periods of times, it's like a reset button for our nervous system. Donna Eden talks about this. She's an energy medicine person who's pretty amazing. And she's written a whole book and she talks a lot about the patterning. But the way that I've taught my math classes has always cycled through the patterning of upper versus lower, right versus left, contralateral movement, upper versus lower. So like a good yoga class is going to cycle through those patterns. And at the end, you're going to go, wow, I just feel so good. And if you're in a yoga class, it's just doing a ton of sagittal, which I have been, you're going to feel really unsatisfied at the end of it. So like you can look at any kind of fitness, yoga, dance, patterning that has different sort of completenesses of what is happening in a body. Or you can look, and this whole system of Laban movement analysis can be placed on anything. We can look at cross-cultural studies. We can look at interpersonal relationships. We can look at office dynamics. We can look at, or we can go to the Grand Central and look at architecture. We can see, and how bodies respond in different types of architecture. Like what gives us a sense of expansion and wonder, what kind of shuts us down. Like you could go to Penn Station or Grand Central and it's going to feel totally different in your body. So, okay, that was me talking way too much. Anybody else notice anything in this last exploration? Peen?
Yeah, I think with the contralateral, it's kind of unknown, or I don't. If I go down contralateral, and I think it's also for me the gallbladder meridian, the channel that is blocking me, or there is not a good. Yeah, I think it's something with the gallbladder that is blocking it, or that was what I felt.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I'm not familiar with what each meridian is. Like I don't know that system, but I can feel it in my nervous system, and I studied a lot of nervous system stuff, so I can feel these things. But what else? What else did you guys notice? Lindsay?
I know, like for me, just general associative, forward high was like aspirational, reaching for something, and back place low felt like I'm being dominated. There was certainly an element of retreat or something like that. It wasn't bad, but it was, I'm like, oh, weird, just a tiny bit weird.
I have like, for me, that forward high, that aspirational, like it's very much a place of wonder. It's like, oh, it's so, oh, and then back there, but back there, like this time I really felt like, oh, I can let that go. Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. That's done. Like finish that one. So to me, but it's different at different times. Like, and you know, every day is not the same day in your body. So it's interesting just to see. We talked about this last week a little bit, like what was where? Like if I move here, what does that feel like? Or if I move here, what does that feel like? And if I move here, like what's the difference between this and this and this, right? Like each or that or that and that and that, like all these little tiny turns, and everyone knows the difference. We can look at it and go, oh, or we can go, oh, I should back away, or we can go, oh, I'm being invited in, right? All of that is in our bodies. All right, anything else to say along those lines?
So on the same sagittal, it's a very nice feeling to be able to go up and extend. But I like also the back because it brings you into a spiral. So it seems kind of funky, you know, like, oh, I can do this, you know, I can do this too. I can put that down like that. It seems like a game kind of.
Yeah. And I think to me, like the more that I enliven the space around me, that it has, you know, oh, that's over here, or this is over there. Like if I have like an idea of what that world is, the mind palace, but it's kind of the body palace, like the kinesphere palace, what's happening back there. So we haven't done the cube. That was all movement in the icosahedron. And there's a scale that goes in the icosahedron that starts in the vertical, and then it goes to the sagittal, and then it goes to the horizontal, then it goes back to the vertical, it goes to the sagittal, it goes to the horizontal. So it pops around. Let's just do it one time because it's super fun. And it's called the A scale. And then we'll finish off with the cube. And this is, so when you study movement analysis, there's an A scale and a B scale, and they're using all the points, but they sort of have slightly different personalities. Like, so you can start to feel what they are. And at one point, like I was an A scaler, and at one point I learned the B scale really well. And then I had a hard time, I lost, my body couldn't say the scales very quickly because I knew them both. And it was like, wait a minute, wait. So then I said, I have to stick with the A scale because it's too much. Unless I'm looking at the motif for it, then I can follow it easily. But if I have to think it, it's too much. The 24 points. So there's 12 points in this. I'm going to face the other direction so you can go the same way as me. So I'm going to go to my high right in my vertical plane, into back low, sagittal plane, crossing over to left forward middle, horizontal plane. Coming back to my vertical plane, low right, taking it up to the sagittal, back high, and into right forward middle, horizontal. Taking it down to vertical, low left, sagittal, forward high, horizontal, right back middle, vertical, my favorite point, high right, into sagittal, forward low, into horizontal, left back middle, opening back up to high right. Let's do it one more time, same thing. High right, back low, left forward middle, low right, back high, right forward middle, low left, forward high, right back middle, high left, forward low, left back middle, high right. And now just take a minute to walk around. Feel what your body feels like. So that was the right arm dominant, but we had a lot of crossed open. We did a little bit of up down, just feeling into that, and then coming around, and let's do the second side. So starting with your left hand, high left, vertical, back low, sagittal, left forward middle, horizontal, low left, vertical, back high, sagittal, left forward middle, horizontal, low right, vertical, forward high, sagittal, left back middle, horizontal, high right, forward low, right back middle to high left. Starting one more time. High left, back low, right forward middle, low left, back high, left forward middle, low right, forward high, left back middle, high right, forward low, right back middle, high left. And then just feeling yourself in there. Just, yeah, you can move around or you can stop, you can take it in. However you're feeling it. So that's the A scale. And there are a couple of different ways that you can do the A scale. So one way is more sort of curvy and one is more sort of pointy. We did it the curvy way. And it depends on where you started. So I don't actually think I'm going to do the cube today because we're at 12:54 and we've been doing a ton of cube. So all of these I videotape and put them up on my YouTube channel, which is Laura Victoria Ward. So let's just come in for some reflection on that. Fabian, you're still here. Oh, it's because of the time change. Yeah, next week it'll be the half hour for you. So what are you guys noticing? Or questioning? Anything that you have questions about or anything that you wonder or anything that like, yeah, go ahead, Abby.
Question, is this scale like C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C? Like there's one sequence for each? When you say like A scale, B scale?
Oh no, it's just A scale or B scale. And they're both the two scales that belong in this. So like this starts high and goes backward. I think the other ones goes forward first instead. So it's kind of a reflection of the A scale. I can't remember it right now, but it's just the scale of the icosahedron and they're both scales. And there are actually other scales. We did one time, actually we did the girdle one time where you're in the axis where you're zigzagging around. So there are different scales with this. Some of them kind of go around the edge, some of them zigzag, and this one's kind of just the full. I feel like this one's the most like, well, shaping in your body. So we also think about how we move from one place to another. Like if I move straight from my center out, it's a central movement with central pathway. If I move along the edge, it could be a peripheral pathway. If I move from one plane into another, neither hitting the edge nor the center, we call it a transverse movement. And that transverse tends to have more body shaping in it. It's all of this stuff, like if you're spending time learning this course, like you're learning it for a whole year and you're really layering in this stuff deeply. And I'm mostly focusing on space in here with a little bit of the other stuff. What else you guys noticing?
Yeah, I want to share something that I'm wondering, that it was sometimes I felt I need to follow your words and your movements, and I don't know what will gonna be the next one. But sometimes, and the most of the time, I feel like I know what will be next, and I do it before you say it. And I'm wondering when I am in one stage and the other, and I keep jumping in. And it's like I'm out of space and it just happened and I know already what will come. And sometimes I go out of that space, more maybe in the brain, I don't know. And then I get lost and then I need orientation. And so I keep jumping and playing between these two realities, let's call it like this.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, I feel like that's the way that we learn so much. And I feel like with the thinking mind and movement, sometimes it just bungles you up because it starts to go, wait a minute. Like I know that my mind cannot comprehend so much of what my body can do. And if I like, even with playing music or something, I'm like, how can my fingers go that fast? If I think about knowing it or whatever, then it's just done and I'm going to fuck it all up. But if I just kind of trust and just go with what kind of feels right. Like, I feel like there are all these levels of communication that are actually happening that we haven't mapped in any way. So when we can let go, because often it happens like in a dance class, let's say, there's usually a part where one person fucks up and 6 other people are all fucking up at the same time. And I don't think it's because they're all watching each other. I just feel like, oh, there's a disturbance in the force. So now everyone had like a blip. And then I also feel like sometimes there's a a field of energy, but more than that, there's like a specific layer that if we can ride along that layer, and God, it's hard to get out of your way to do that. But if we can trust, then we can find that. But, I think it must take whatever. I don't know. Does that speak to that a little bit? Do you guys also experience that? Yeah. What else?
So just wondering, because it's new for me, the scales. So this is space harmony, and so they're put into shape because it's harmonious. But can you practice like all the different without knowing it? I mean, can it also be interesting to practice in any kind of order?
I think so. I mean, that's why I wanted to turn things around. It's like, yeah. And when I studied movement analysis, we had to make our own scales. And like, if I was doing this, we could we could pause at some point and go into breakout rooms and have you guys create scales. Maybe we'll do that next week, because then, and they can go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
See you later, Dawn. They can go, you can make spaces and go, oh, and then later on go, well, why was that so interesting to me? Why did I want to go to that space? Or what does this mean to me? Or how, or maybe like, oh, I really hate that one, but maybe I should put it in because I find it so awkward. It's this way that we can, I think, this is what I think the real magic of the whole system is that the more we can become comfortable with the uncomfortable, the more, and I don't mean like the abuse or the horror, but the more that we can become comfortable with things that are like, oh, that's new and different. How do I feel about that? Or how does that feel in my body? The more that we can, then we just have so much more access to being human that isn't like, I have to be like this. It's so funny. My mom said this to me one time. I was talking to her about something with her boyfriend, and she's like, well, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's just the way I am. I'm like, is it really just the way that you are? Or is there a possibility that you could maybe soften around that, or maybe look at it slightly differently? Like, are we locked into being people the way that we are, or can we come around to a different shape with that being? And I feel like that's what it doesn't matter. Like, let's say I only want to be in the vertical plane today. I got to be vertical. And I don't even know what that is. It doesn't even matter if I know it, but this is where I am. I need this. Oh, I just went to sagittal right. I popped that out. So you might find that when you're playing in one for a while, suddenly something else comes in. Oh, I need this now. Or I need what's back there? Like, so just play with them as if you are making them up for yourself. Like, this came out of one person working with a lot of people. Like, Laban wasn't doing it alone. He had hordes of women supporting him, and men, but mostly women that were like helping him make all this stuff and bring it to the world. So yeah. What else? Hanan, you've been very quiet. Are you there? Okay. Yes. All right. Anything to share? Anyone else?
Yeah, you already spoke to one of the things I was noticing is just one transition. My body just didn't like it. There was a reaction inside. So I'm going to continue to play with that, because I think it's like a possibility that I haven't ever explored maybe.
You can also change, like, you could do this all on the floor, right? You could lay down on your back and just use your body as what the space is, so that you're playing in a different, relationship. It doesn't have to, or it could be, I'm going to do it all with my shoulder, or I'm going to do it all like with my jaw, just playing with different possibilities of how you're moving. And I think that that's what the system does. It just gives you so many opportunities to look at things differently, or go, oh, well, what if I did that? Or how about this? Or what about that?
When you're doing it on your back, are you like putting a little intention into the floor if you're going behind you?
Let me just try, and let's look at what this is. So probably I'm going to move my body a whole lot, but if I wanted to, I would go like place high to back low to left, forward, middle, right? I'm going to use keep shifting my body around as I need to. So I'm going to keep moving my body so that my arm can go into the space, but it could be any way. That's just me playing with it, right? You could do it a different way. You can do it from a chair also. All right.
I had one more question if there's time. Otherwise,
That's fine.
Because I was wondering how to apply this. I mean, obviously in my work in theater, but when I dance 5 rhythms, and that is a meditation, and it's improvised. And usually I just get out of the way and let my body move from some sort of a inner source. And it seems like that source is not really busy with whatever plane or dimension it is in. And if I would want to add that, I would get back in my head. So I'm just wondering how you apply this when you improvise.
Well, I would just say, okay, I'm just going to try just improvising in vertical. And I'm going to let it do whatever else it wants to do. And then I'm going to notice when, oh, not in vertical, now I'm in the horizontal. Or just all you have to do is add, I'm noticing. And it doesn't have to be like, I'm going, like, this is one of the, I struggled with this a lot. Hey, Teresa, it was started at noon. You missed the whole thing. But when I started, because I dance ballet, I do contact improv. I'm a continuum person. And I'm a pole dancer. And so like, and this Laban stuff, like space is really like, it can be rigid and like difficult. Yeah, if you need to go ahead and pop off, it's fine. But at the same time, it's just a framework. So you have to use it in whatever way is supportive to you, right? And like the thing, like we didn't get into the cube today, but cube has this amazing possibility for spiraling. So it's like, that's the thing. Like, I feel like what's missing in continuum is sometimes, oh, what does happen when I cross the body? What does happen when I open? Like just enough framework that I can start to see bigger. Cause like I've done five rhythms as well. And I love it. And I love the freedom of it. And I love that all of that. But I think that sometimes when we can throw some framework also and play with framework, it gives us more possibility.
Thanks.
But I always had that struggle with form and freedom and like,
Yeah.
But with theater, it's great because like you could put it in your body, like the shoulder going to high left or high right. Like, what does that, like immediately it puts all this tension in my neck and jaw. And I want to be like, whoa, like, you know, or if I'm soft and jiggly and my whole diaphragm's all in the horizontal plane, like it changes to something else. So like all of this, depending on how you use it. So really be free with your, you know, playfulness with how you experience it or what you want to do with it.
Thanks.
All righty. Well, I am going to close it out since we've popped the hour. And thank you guys all for coming. It is weekly, and probably next week I'll just do the cube. We were in the cube for so long, but it might be time to go back. And also there's effort and different parts of this. So we can play a little bit more with other parts of the system. Yes. All right. So thank you so much, you guys. And oh yeah, do the embodied reconnection week if you are around. I will be there some of the time. All right. See you.